All right, so one of the things I watched in 2022 was season 5 of My Hero Academia. So, let's talk about that. So this season really has gotten a lot of hate from a lot of people, just like season 4 did quite significantly too. And I I honestly liked season 5. I really did. And this is coming from someone who was not really a big fan of season 4. Like, honestly, for me, season 4 was kind of let down in a lot of ways. Really did not like a lot of it. But, and I won't get into that because I think I talked about it last year. But anyway, in regards to season 5, like I said, I know a lot of people were none too pleased with season 5 of My Hero Academia, especially manga readers. Like, a lot of people who read the manga were not really happy with how the material from the manga was adapted. And I have not read the My Hero Academia manga, so I can't really speak to any of that. But like, maybe it is like, especially with like, one of the things a lot of people complained about was like how the My Villain Academia arc was adapted, and like, maybe it's just a case for me of the source material being so good that even if it's a bad adaptation, it's still enjoyable. Like, for example, one of the things that maybe I'm in the minority on this, but season 3 part 1 of Attack on Titan, the whole uprising arc, I have, especially after going back and reading the manga, I have become sort of disillusioned with how Wit Studio adapted that arc for the anime. I don't really think that most of the changes they made were good, and I sort of really think they a lot of changes in that arc that I really did not like. But again, it's still a very enjoyable arc to watch in the anime. And it's still really good, and it's just a great. And I think it is sort of like in the case of My Villain Academia, where they cut out a lot of stuff. And I've heard from the manga where it's just like, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's just like, it feels like that even though might be a bad adaptation of the source material is just really good. So it sort of is really is still really enjoyable to watch for anime onlys anyway. But anyway, so talking about the season, the first arc of the season was the joint training arc, which, you know, it felt kind of fillery, and it is going sort of back to that thing which about My Hero Academia, which bothers me, which is that like every season there's this arc that like actually matters and actually progresses the story and the characters, and there's this arc where it's just basically training, and it's just like happens every season, where one half of the season is just like uh this training arc or this tournament arc, and it's just like really it does sort of bother me, I guess, but I did sort of like it, honestly. Like the joint training arc, like I know a lot of people don't really like this arc, but you know, I I did like it because, and one of the things I liked about it was that like I really liked the group fights in this arc, because I feel like My Hero Academia, it doesn't really have the best fights, because some of them can feel kind of lame at times, even though that obviously some of them are really good. But like My Hero Academia, it doesn't really have the most creative fights, but the points where the fights are at their best, definitely, are when there are group fights, where like different characters will group together and you can use their different superpowers in conjunction with one another. Those are the fights I like the best, because I feel like they're the most creative and most interesting. And the joint training arc had a bunch of them, with like the groups of four like fighting against each other. So I really did like that aspect of it. And I feel like I did like that Class B finally got some more focus, and Shiro, who was introduced in season 2, who has basically like not been important since then, actually did get some more focus with using his mind control abilities in interesting ways. So I did like that. So yeah, it was kind of fillery, didn't really progress the story much. But like I did like the joint training arc. I felt like it was also there was some really cool animation in that arc too. Like for example, the whole thing with Ida and his fight against that guy, which was like not super important, but it was very well animated. I really liked that sequence. But anyway, so yeah, in regards to the animation too, I did think the animation was sort of more consistent in this season than it was in season 4, which I sort of had my problems with the animation there too. Which, not going to talk about the whole Mirio fight with basically manga panels colored in with. I'm not going to talk about that, but yeah, I thought the animation was better in this season, even though it still wasn't like there are some issues with the animation in season 5, but overall I thought it was mostly pretty good, and I liked it. And getting into the Endeavor stuff, which was in this season, which I did think it was interesting. I mean, Endeavor, which I did not expect when first watching the series when his character was introduced, but Endeavor really is like very fascinating and complex character. Like he's this character which obviously he's done like a lot of bad things, but he also is like kind of a good guy as well, and it's just interesting. Like which is something you don't like see a ton, which is like these characters that like are on the good side and actually trying to do good things, but also have like so many like personal problems and issues and like character flaws and like obviously the treatment of his children, which was really like terrible in so many ways and really scarred Todoroki. Literally scarred him. But yeah, I mean in fiction a lot of times you see these abusive and toxic people, and they're just written off as like these bad people who need to be like ignored and like sort of you need to get away from these people. And yeah, obviously like but I like that My Hero Academia is kind of showing that Endeavor is sort of more complex of a character than we sort of initially thought, with him trying to actually sort of take steps to change, even though it's not really very easy for him. So I did like that stuff. I thought it was interesting. And even though it sort of was another training arc, which we've got so many of them by this point, I feel like it was a very interesting look into Endeavor's character. So I did like that. I don't I don't understand though, like why My Hero Academia does this so much, where like there's been so much filler. Like for example, the in this series, like where it will just stretch out arcs, and like for example the first and 16th episode of this season, which were just filler, exclusive to the anime. And I just don't understand why like they're like having so much filler like this, when like those two filler episodes, episode 1 and episode 16, those two filler episodes could have been shelved to make way for like two more episodes dedicated to My Villain Academia. Like, because I know like a lot of people were upset at how they sort of rushed through the story, and I don't understand why they're going through it so fast when like they're dedicating, when they don't have to, and they're dedicating these two episodes to filler that was not in the manga. And I just don't like it doesn't really make sense to me. Why would you not give more time to this like this arc that like everybody loves from the manga, and it's like this really creative thing? So I don't know, it just bothers me, the filler in this My Hero Academia. And it sort of is because it sort of is like, that's one of the things I really like about Attack on Titan, which is that there's not really any filler in it. And it just sort of sticks to the story and trying to adapt it. And so, yeah, whatever. But anyway, the highlight of this season for me, even though, obviously I said before there could have been more time dedicated to it, and even I could sort of tell that My Villain Academia arc was kind of rushed. But the highlight for me this season was My Villain Academia. I just find it very interesting, and I really liked that they finally gave the villains more focus, because I actually really liked all the villain characters in this season, except for that lizard guy. I mean, he's just sort of there. I know in the manga, like, because I've watched videos about that they give him, like, more focus and more to do in the My Villain Academia arc, which they cut out, which was lame. But anyway, so I actually really liked all the villains in the My Villain Academia arc, which is good, and I really like that they're giving them more focus and actually make them active characters, because, like, beforehand, I don't really think the villains were I really think the villains in My Hero Academia were one of the weakest parts of the series. Like, obviously it's called My Hero Academia, so the focus is on the heroes. But I just don't think the villains were really very good. Some of them, like, had, obviously, unique designs, unique powers, unique personalities. But they just didn't really feel like they were that active and that much of a threat. But in this season, in My Villain Academia, we really see them coming into their own and seeing, their past, seeing how they got to be where they are, and seeing them really grow as threats and as, active characters. And, seeing, what's his name? The Hands guy. I can never remember his name. But anyway, the Hands guy, the main villain, who's basically, All For One, All For One's, like, his protege. I keep forgetting his name, but, anyway, his whole backstory and how he basically had this power that, like, basically destroyed things that he touched, and he basically accidentally killed his family. Like, that was so fucked up. And, like, it is really interesting too, because you are sort of seeing where, like, there's this cool world where with all these superpowers, where it's this cool fantasy world where which introduced a lot of really cool ideas, and it seems like it would be cool to live in. But at the same time, you have these people with powers that could like easily kill someone accidentally if they're not careful, and you're sort of seeing like with the Hands guy's backstory with how that can kind of be like fucked up in a lot of ways, where it can be sort of dangerous, and you have to deal with all these issues of like one of the things that's brought up with what's his name? I can't remember his name. But anyway, the sorry, the antagonist that the villains fight in this season, where he's basically he's part of the Meta Liberation Army, where he has this belief that everyone should be able to use quirks however they like without restrictions. And you sort of see how in this society, maybe some restrictions on using quirks with, obviously the Hands guy's backstory might be a good idea, but you can also see it from the other side, where there are like these people who don't believe that people's quirks should be limited and they should be able to realize their full potential in freedom, where basically the antagonist this season is a libertarian. So, but anyway, you see interesting ideas brought up with that, and and with that stuff, and like and I did find it really interesting with where the story is going, because it feels like finally My Hero Academia is actually building up to something bigger now, where in the past the plot just seemed to be standing still. Like, I mean, I swear, I hope in the next season it doesn't just start with a freaking training arc. I want to actually see like real story and real development that is uninterrupted with filler and with like more freaking training and tournament arcs. I want to see that next season. I want to see that in season 6, because it feels like the show really is building up to something big, and I really want to see that, and I really hope it's adapted well. And but anyway, so yeah, so that's basically what I thought of My Hero Academia season 5. I did like it, though I have my issues with it, and like obviously a lot of people were not happy with the adaptation and how it turned out. But yeah, I did like it. I think that the stuff from the manga that were adapted was interesting. I did like, again, the joint training arc. A lot of people didn't like it, but I did sort of like it because the group fights which were just very interesting to me. All the Endeavor stuff and My Villain Academia I liked. So yeah, that was basically what I thought of My Hero Academia season 5, which definitely when I first watched My Hero Academia in season 1 and season 2, like those seasons I really liked, and I was really itching to see more, and I was really hyped about the series. Obviously, I'm less hyped now. I'm just don't have the same enthusiasm about it, but it could really rekindle my enthusiasm depending on what they do in season 6 with like, seeing how it's sort of the story is building up to this larger war and larger conflict with like much bigger stakes. So I'm really liking that, and interested to see how it goes. But anyway, yeah, that's what I thought of season 5 of My Hero Academia. This has been the Romantic Shipper. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and as always, remember, just because you can't feel love doesn't mean you shouldn't want other people to. Bye.